The Samsung Galaxy C9 Pro is out in India as the inevitable OnePlus 3T competitor that every company is being forced to introduce. Now its 6GB of RAM is a direct address to buyers of the 3T, but the fact that remains is that the 3T has a flagship grade processor in the Snapdragon 821, while the C9 Pro goes for the mid-range Snapdragon 653. But with other similarities like 16 megapixel front and rear cameras, the C9 Pro can easily identify itself as a OnePlus 3T rival. Not to mention, it has a larger 6-inch display, a bigger battery, and expandable storage. Cutting the chase, is this the right device for you to buy? We're here to find out just that. I'm Sohil Nikam, you're watching the TechShout channel on YouTube, and this is a review of the Samsung Galaxy C9 Pro. Now this device is large, but it's certainly not as intimidating as some of the other 6-inch handsets that we've seen lately, like the Samsung Galaxy A9 Pro for instance. The credit for this should go to its 6.9mm thickness, which is quite impressive given that it has a 4000 mAh battery, and also to its 189g weight. While holding it, it's definitely less slippery than the OnePlus 3T, and the frameless edges go easy on your palms as well. On the front is a 6-inch Super AMOLED 1080p panel covered with 2.5D Gorilla Glass. The earpiece is surrounded by a 16 megapixel f1.9 camera and some sensors, while below the screen is a fingerprint scanner, which is also a home button. The top portion is pretty bald, with a secondary microphone being its only occupant, and the bottom is quite crowded on the other hand. It holds the headphone jack, a single speaker grill, another microphone, and a USB Type-C port. Keeping this in mind, Samsung also packs a Type-C to micro USB adapter in the box. The power and volume keys on either side of the phone are pretty sturdy, and on the right hand side you'll also find two slots. One will let you add micro SD cards of up to 256GB, while the other one takes two nano SIM cards. It's a nice little change to see after all those hybrid SIM slots on most other phones. Speaking about the back, it's pretty standard business here. A protruding camera is surrounded by a dual-tone flash and a Samsung logo. I did find the 3-stripe antenna lines to be very ugly, but to each his own. Oh yes, and for a change, all the required sensors are in place on a Samsung device, even a gyroscope. Super AMOLED displays have a lot going for them the moment they are placed on a smartphone, and this one is no exception. The 1080p resolution might be less considering it's a 6-inch panel, but you'll still see no limitation. It gives you crisp visuals with vivid colors and deep blacks. The sunlight visibility is also awesome, as there's ample amount of brightness for you to harness. This display has an always on mode for showing time and notification icons, and it doesn't affect the battery life a great deal since it's after all an AMOLED screen. While the Galaxy C9 Pro has its main speaker resting at the bottom, it also activates another speaker that's located in its earpiece when you're playing music or games. Technically, this is not a stereo arrangement, so don't expect that kind of quality. What you can expect though is good sound output and volume range. The headphone audio is worth appreciating, and do note that a set of in-ear headphones with volume controls are bundled with this phone. Samsung has upgraded its UI once again to make it smoother and also to bring it more in line with Chinese ROMs like MIUI, which are rich in features. The Android version is still marshmallow, but the looks have been totally grabbed from Nougat. Have a look at the quick settings menu and you'll know. Even bundled notifications have finally entered TouchWiz. The settings app is completely new, and you'll also notice that all the icons now get rounded edges. Multi-window, which is a highlight of Android Nougat, has been a part of Samsung's software since way back in 2012. But in addition to that, you get pop-up windows now, which are also pretty neat. Moreover, there are plenty of battery optimization features, including the ability to put certain apps to sleep until they are manually opened. Plus, there's a device management center, very similar to what's offered by lots of Chinese ROMs these days. Overall, the software experience of the Galaxy C9 Pro is excellent and diverse. Samsung has really done a good job at updating its TouchWiz interface. For usual daylight photography, the 16 megapixel rear camera of the C9 Pro is a good companion. It returns sharp pictures, the saturation of which is on point. However, the lack of detailing leaves something to be desired from these images. I did like the dynamic range of this camera though. Another problem that I observed was that this camera has focusing issues for macro shots of tiny subjects. Just look at the difference between the same shots clicked from the C9 Pro and the OnePlus 3T. Low light photography is not a pleasant experience on this phone. Your photos tend to lose their detailing even more as the amount of available light decreases. And then there's also the problem of highly visible grain. I observed something very peculiar while capturing a low light video on the C9 Pro. There was a tremendous decrease in saturation for some reason. Daylight videos on the other hand are surprisingly good. But something is lacking here too. You don't get time-lapse or slow motion modes, let alone 4K videos, despite the process of being capable of offering them. Speaking about the selfie camera, here's where the phone tries to make up for some lost ground. The 16 megapixel images from this snapper come out beautiful and sharp. Moving into low light does affect the detailing a bit, but the pictures are still good enough for posting on social media. To sum up the camera experience of this phone, it is still miles behind what the OnePlus 3T has on offer. For day-to-day operations, the Samsung Galaxy C9 Pro is a very fast phone. The interface never lags, which is worth mentioning since it's TouchWiz we are talking about, and the multitasking is extra smooth. The 6GB of RAM has a lot to do with this, I think. Games also run very well on this device and they don't miss frames often. The fingerprint scanner is something I had a big issue with. It fails to recognize fingerprints about 2 out of 5 times on an average. And although it's fast, it's not as fast as the one on the OnePlus 3T. As far as battery life is concerned, this phone impresses a great deal. Once charged to full, the C9 Pro will keep you offering its power for 2 days straight as long as you're not using it heavily, like for instance gaming. And even if you are a heavy gamer, you will still be able to use it for an entire day without worrying about recharging it. What's also great is that there are tons of battery profiles and optimizations you can take advantage of in order to keep the phone running, which is quite admirable. The phone does have fast charging support in case you're wondering, but still it's nowhere near as fast as the OnePlus 3T's dash charge feature. The Samsung Galaxy C9 Pro hasn't quite turned out to be the OnePlus 3T killer, which its makers wanted it to be. It does offer powerful performance, a large and crisp display, and good build quality, not to mention great battery life as well. But it doesn't stand a chance in beating the camera and the overall appeal of the OnePlus 3T, which is sold at Rs 30,000. As opposed to that, the C9 Pro comes at Rs 36,900. We're gonna have to go with 3 out of 5 stars.